Hello, everyone. It's time for a new edition of Phillies Talk Podcast. Father's Day is coming up in 2 weeks, but it's only 1 week if you're going to Citizens Bank Park. The MLB All-Star ballots are out. Guess who you can vote for? Yep, your favorite Fightin' Phils. All of this and how the Phillies have been doing on their 10-game road trip on this edition of Phillies Talk. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Phillies Talk Podcast for June 4th, Sunday. Big Phillies victory this afternoon over the Washington Nationals down in D.C. in the rubber match. And the Phillies win a series after looking pretty bad on the road. Long road trip for the Phillies, 10-game road trip. I think it's the longest of the year for them. But, you know, they salvaged it in the end. About a week ago or so, they went out on the road and split a series with the Braves, thankfully, and then rolled into New York after 4 games with the Braves and promptly got swept by the New York Mets. Now, I had a sheet of paper written down with all the stats and facts and figures from New York and how bad the Phillies have been in New York. And I really didn't realize how bad it's been, but it's been very bad. Let's just say that. I'm not going to bring up any of the numbers, but the Mets have owned the Phillies in the last couple years at Citi Field, last 2 seasons at least. Again, I don't have those stats right in front of me anymore. Was going to do a podcast the other night in the middle of the Mets series, and I'm glad I didn't actually, because it would have been sounding a little bit different than it does tonight on this podcast. But as I said, the Phillies with an 11-3 victory today over the Nationals. Ranger Suarez gets his first win of the year. His ERA is down to 5.47. So things are looking up for the Phils a little bit. JT Realmuto getting out of a personal slump. Had a couple hits, home run today and yesterday over the Nationals. And, broke a bad spell for the Phillies, both for the team and for JT Realmuto. He was, up until Saturday's game, mired in a 3 for 43 rut. That's .070 batting average, mind you. That is a rut, ladies and gentlemen, but he's now out of it. He's broken out of it. He's got 2 home runs in that series, and he was a catalyst on why the Phillies showed their true selves in that series with the Nationals this weekend. And when you look on paper with the different players, you got to figure the Phillies had the advantage in this series. They have a payroll that's, I didn't look at the numbers, but it's got to be at least double what the Marlins is, maybe even more than that, double and a half. Not that that matters too much, but it should. The caliber of players, the superstars, the Trey Turner, the Bryce Harper. You know, every time Bryce Harper went up to bat in Washington, he got booed. Why? Because he's a superstar and he left the Nationals for a better contract with the Phillies, All the Nationals had to do was sign him to a good contract. I'm sure he would have stayed in Washington probably for his whole career, but that didn't happen. We have Harper and we have JT Realmuto. We have Trey Turner, and we have a guy whose name is Nick Castellanos. Now, if Nick Castellanos is not an all-star this year, it's already June 4th. The all-star game's in July. I think it's a shoo-in that Castellanos has to represent the Phillies. I don't believe too many Phillies will be voted in. Maybe Harper as a DH for that, but I doubt too many other Phillies are going to be voted in for the 2023 All-Star Game, which, by the way, ballots are now out. And voting ends June 22nd at 12 noon. And you can go online to MLB.com and find the All-Star ballot link and vote up to 5 times a day on every day, 5 times per day. If you have an account with MLB.com, you can sign into it and make your votes. I mean, here's for first base. Cody Clemens is in the running. Second base, of course, Phillies have Bryson Stott up for that honor. And like I said, maybe he's not going to win over certain players, but Bryson Stott has had a decent couple of months playing baseball, especially with the Phillies. You know, you have a couple guys that have better numbers slightly than him, but he's worthy of some sort of possibility of making an all-star vote win. Alec Boehm at third base would be your Phillies guy to vote for there. Again, he's not the worst. He's out on injury right now, but he's had a pretty decent season. I'm just looking over his fellow third baseman, and he's been out for a few days. He has six home runs, and 37 RBIs. Nolan Arenado is doing pretty well. He's got 10 home runs and 38 RBIs, but Nolan Arenado has not been hurt as long as Alec Boehm has. So hopefully Boehm will be back soon. Austin Riley of the Braves, he's got 10 home runs, 30 RBIs, but you know, these guys have been playing every day too. Alec Boehm's been off now 4 or 5 games. So, you know, it's a tough break for him. Let's look at shortstop here. Of course, Trey Turner would be the Phillies guy to vote for, but he's had a rough few months in as a Philly. Current batting average is .232. He's got 5 homers and 16 ribbies. Guy named Dansby Swanson, who signed for the Chicago Cubs, he's got a .277 average, 6 home runs, 26 RBI. So there's your comparison. Got 10 more ribbies than Turner, as batting average is a little higher. But you've also got some other entrants in that race that Xander Bogaerts now playing out in San Diego. Willy Adames has had a great season so far with the Brewers. He got 27 RBIs, but he's only batting .205. So, you know, Trey Turner can turn it around here. He's got 3 weeks worth of voting to consider as of the time I'm doing this podcast. Catcher, of course, it's a legitimate chance that JT might have a chance at this, although Sean Murphy for the Atlanta Braves has him over stats-wise, batting average, home runs, and RBIs, a lot more. A couple other catchers are doing pretty well, too. Catcher out in L.A., Will Smith. He's got 8 home runs and 30 ribbies. And like I said, JT batting .258, 5 home runs, 19 RBIs. So he's middle of the pack so far, but we do have time. Fielders, let's see who we have listed here for the Phils. Going down the list, Kyle Schwarber, of course, 15 homers and 33 runs batted in. His batting average is not the greatest, that's for sure. But who knows? He might sneak in just based upon home runs that he's hit so far. I believe he is leading all outfielders at 15 home runs. He's off to another great start with homers. If he keeps it up, he might finish with 50 home runs if he can get on a hot streak. And we know he loves June. So that's not out of the question. Designated hitter. Here's a guy that may deserve some props. He's just come back to play recently. Bryce Harper for the Phils. .298 batting average, 3 home runs and 8 RBIs so far as of the time that I'm doing this podcast. So go over to MLB.com/all-star/ballot, and you will find that ballot. If you can't remember that or can't type it in, just go to MLB.com. You'll hit the link and it'll bring you right to that page for your voting. All right, taking a look at the Phillies' upcoming schedule. Coming into town will be the Detroit Tigers as the nonstop facing of every MLB team by the Phillies takes place here in 2023. So tomorrow night, which is Monday night, as of the time I'm doing this show, June 5th, the Detroit Tigers will be in town at a 6:40 start. Aaron Nola back up on the mound for the Phils. Haven't watched Detroit all that much this year. That's one team that be frank with you, I don't know if I've ever watched a whole game with Detroit in the game, except if they were playing the Phillies. Just don't go out of my way to watch that team. Have no interest in them. They're playing Tuesday, and let's see what the matchups are on Tuesday night. Estimated to be here for another start here. And interestingly enough, Tuesday night starters is a 6:40 p.m. start. Taijuan Walker going for the Phillies, supposed to start there. And the pitcher for Detroit has been yet to be determined. So unknown yet for the Detroit Tigers, who will be pitching on Tuesday. Schwarber's already had, getting back to him, 2 home runs and 6 RBIs in June. And it's only 4 days into it. So, the calendar, when it gets a little warmer, Schwarber blossomed. He's almost like a baseball player that knows that it's his time to prosper. He had a great June last year, as did the Phillies. They completely turned it around. And hopefully they'll do that again this year in 2023. And looking ahead to Wednesday's game, Zach Wheeler will start for the Phils Wednesday, 6:05 p.m. start at Citizens Bank Park. The Phillies currently at 27-32. Detroit Tigers, you don't hear much from them. I don't hear much from them. They're 26-31. So they almost have an identical record as the Phillies this year over there in the American League. So let's see if the Phils can do anything against them. And then, of course, the weekend is one of the marquee matchups if you're a baseball fan. LA Dodgers coming into town, and they've been on fire. They're on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball tonight, taking on the New York Yankees in LA. But next weekend, they'll be in Philadelphia, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 3-game series, Friday night at 7:05 p.m., which is one of my favorite start times. Saturday at 4:05 p.m. And then Sunday is a 1:35 scheduled start for the Dodgers and the Phillies. And I might be at that game. So I always look forward to seeing the Dodgers play the Phillies. A lot of matchups over the years that are very interesting. I used to follow the Dodgers quite a bit over the years, back in the 90s and all. So, and I've been out to Dodger Stadium. So it's a magical place if you ever get a chance. And one of the places that you want to see, of several, notable ballparks, would be Dodger Stadium. It's just a great place to take in a game, just north of the city of Los Angeles. And it's like an oasis out there, really. It's got its own specialty about it. So, you ever get a chance to go out there? Um, I did a number of years ago. I happened to luck up and see one of my favorite pitchers of the time, Hideo Nomo, get a start. I believe they were playing Colorado, so it was a game that didn't mean much to me, but I was on vacation out there and I attended a LA Dodger game. So get a chance, please do it. 2 weeks from now is the real Father's Day. So maybe think about Dad. Get him to the ballpark this year, maybe, and that would be fun. Um, doesn't happen often. You know, how many times have you taken your dad to a ball game? Um, Someday you wish you could take him to a ball game and you won't be able to for whatever reason. He might be sick or passed away. I cherish the times that I was able to go to the ballpark with my dad. He was a catalyst with me as a young kid that grew up liking baseball. He liked baseball. We used to go up and make the trip from South Jersey, go to Veterans Stadium and watch double headers all the time when they used to have such a thing. That was his favorite game to go to. Two for the price of one, he used to say. So, you know, that's what you build a memory that way with, memories that'll last forever, by the way, not just, going out to dinner down at your local, just Red Lobster or your local favorite restaurant. You'll forget about that in a few years, chances are. But if you go to a ball game, it really makes a different connection and something that I think will stay with you a lot longer. And by the way, Sunday, June 11th is Chevrolet Father's Appreciation Day because the Phillies are on the road for the real Father's Day, and that's June 18th. So all fathers 15 and over, and men 15 and over, I'll say, young men, will get a nice gift from the Phillies on that night, on that afternoon, rather, on Sunday, June 11th. So you're going to get not only a ball game, but you're going to get a free gift if you're 15 or over. So check it out. I'm not quite sure what the Phillies are giving out this year for Father's Day. Maybe I'll check into that real quick while I am typing here and doing the show. Let's see what they're going to give away for the Father's Day special this year. It's usually a hat. Sometimes it's a bucket hat or a regular baseball hat. Let's see what it is this year. Okay, group tickets, promotions, and giveaways. Check out the full lineups. Let's see what it says here. Promotions. Okay, so June 11th, which is the day game against the Dodgers. It's going to be a men's hat. Just what I thought. White with a Liberty Bell in the center, a blue Liberty Bell. And it looks like it has some silver dots on it as well. So pretty cool. And Friday, June 9th, fans 15 and over are going to get a Dick Allen bobblehead. So nice giveaways at the stadium coming up very shortly for fathers on the 11th of June. And then Friday night, June 9th, a bobblehead, Dick Allen. So if you're going to the stadium, make your plans. And the next giveaway isn't until July 2nd, around the holiday, where it will be an Alec Bohm cooling headband, which is red, white, and blue with a nice Phillies logo with the blue Liberty Bell in the center of it. 28 with a drawn autograph there of Alec Bohm. cooling headband. Looks pretty cool. Very nice. And then after that, the next giveaway will be July 15th, which is a Saturday. All fans in attendance that night are going to get a replica National League Champions ring. Wow. And I'm looking at a picture of the real thing with Bryce Harper wearing that thing. And wow, a lot of jingle on that ring. So curious to see what that replica will look like, because the real thing looks great. So there's a few giveaways going up to July 15th, and then Sunday is going to be for children giveaway of JT Realmuto Catcher's Bank. So it's going to be a little bank that's shaped like JT Realmuto. You'll get to save your change in it for the kids, and that's pretty cool. So that takes us through the middle of July with some giveaways for the Phils. And don't forget about the July fireworks, which this year will be in June and July. They're very far away from the actual 4th of July holiday, by the way. If you haven't heard already, I'll give you the dates here for the fireworks night. And believe it or not, last year was the first time that I ever took in a game with a great friend of mine, and we said we were going to go up this year. I'm not sure if we'll be able to make it, but we thoroughly enjoyed it. It was the first time for both of us being at the ballpark with the fireworks. And this year it will be Friday, both on Friday nights, June 30th against the Washington Nationals. The game starts at 6:05 p.m. That's Xfinity Fireworks Show number 1. And then the next show doesn't take place, believe it or not, until July 14th. Phillies come home after a road trip down to Florida. They'll play Tampa Bay for 3 and then Miami for 3, starting on July 4th, right on through the 9th. The All-Star break takes place in the middle of that. And then when the Phillies open up back to play on July 14th, there's going to be a fireworks night at the stadium. That's Xfinity Fireworks Show number 2, July 14th, Friday night. It's going to be a great time against the San Diego Padres. So you're making your plans. You might want to make those plans, because that's always a great night to be at the ballpark. Very magical. Again, one of those memorable type of nights. All right. Well, so glad that the Phillies have turned it around a little bit. Phillies Twitter has been going crazy, saying that, the Phillies are done, mail it in. No, the Phillies aren't done yet. They keep us on this roller coaster ride with wins and losses. They've strung together 4 or 5 wins, then they string together 4 or 5 losses. Then they win 3 or 4, then they lose 3 or 4. I wish they would start on a streak where they could maybe reel off 9 or 10, 11 wins in a row and get hot. And this is the time to do it, when the weather warms up, gets a little bit more like Ben Davis said the other night in Washington. The ball was flying out of the park, and they scored more than 10 runs 2 games in a row. So, yeah, indeed, the ball was flying out of the park there in Washington, D.C. this weekend. Phillies win a series, thankfully. They only won 1 on the road trip, but they sort of salvaged it a little bit. 10-game road trip. They did lose, 2 against the Braves, 3. They lost 6, 4 and 6 on that road trip. Could have been worse the way the Phillies were playing. We saw some really bad play from them, and they went to a place where we thought they lost their skills there for a minute, even in the field, making errors, not following through on certain things. And that happens during the course of a season. I think it happens to everybody, whatever job you have. I don't care if you're a CEO or you're a general manager of some place, or you're never perfect. And the Phillies aren't perfect. So, but they're back to winning. So, all right. Hope you enjoyed this edition of Phillies Talk. Check out my blog at fightingphillies.com. My co-host, Matt Veazey, I'm forever trying to catch up with him. One of these days, we're going to have him back on the show. You can find him at Phillies Bell. He's got a great Twitter account, a lot of followers out there. So can't wait to talk to him. So going to try to get with him for this week, maybe one of the games in the evening around the Tiger series, hopefully, and we'll get another podcast in here for you to listen to. Thanks for listening to this edition of Phillies Talk Podcast. Again, check me out at fightingphillies.com, baseballtalkradio.com, which is my website that I do, made up with 30 some odd podcasts on baseball, one with me and my good friend Gary Mack, who's very awesome. And the guy is just, I mean, he's aces. One of the best people I've ever known in my life, believe it or not. Does a great job on his own Mets musings. If you're a baseball fan, you want to hear what the Mets are up to, tune into his podcast over there, metsmusings.com. Len and Jeff over at Baseball and Barbecue, they're great guys as well from New York, putting out a nice show every week. And Baseball PhD from the Midwest with the great Ed Casputis, Farley Dillinger, and Mr. Mark Rantala. They do a wonderful job. Just off the top of my head, that's 3 or 4 of my favorite podcasts that I listen to quite often. And I invite you to listen to them as well over at baseballtalkradio.com. Take care, everyone. Talk to you on the next edition of Phillies Talk Podcast.